Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Professor Alison Snape, and I'm the Head of Biological Sciences here at the University of Leicester. I'm here to say welcome and thank you for attending our virtual open day. Because I've only very recently joined the university, I thought it might be nice to give you some of the reasons why I'm happy to be here, and they may also be reasons why you would choose to study here. Firstly, this is an excellent university with a strong record of research and teaching in a wide range of biological sciences. Secondly, there's an exceptionally friendly and enthusiastic team of staff who deliver our degree programmes. Thirdly, the university is on a welcoming and accessible campus that's right in the heart of Leicester. And finally, if you're not from this area, it's good to know that Leicester is a vibrant and diverse city, and it's a great place to live. I'm now going to hand you over to my colleague, Dr. Mark Leyland, who's going to give you some more details of our programmes.
Thank you, Alison. Welcome everybody to this open day. I'm Mark Leyland. I'm what's known as the Senior Tutor for the school, which is a big title, which just means I look after the personal tutor programme. What I want to do is tell you a little bit about the university and the school in particular. So we're just going to skip over a few things just to tell you that we are a good university, as you can see by some of our rankings. What I really want to focus on is telling you why you might want to come to Leicester to study biological sciences. So in the School of Biological Sciences, you're going to be joining a school, a community of students, researchers and educators. And in your teaching, you're going to receive a good grounding in lots of different areas of biological sciences and all the key aspects of your particular subject that you come to study. But because all the staff are involved in research, you're also going to receive a research-inspired education, and that's going to benefit from the research that's done here at Leicester. So just very briefly, what are we good at Leicester? So we're good at structural biology. So if we look on this top right-hand side, this is using techniques like NMR, nuclear magnetic resonance, X-ray crystallography, and our structural biologist's new favourite toy. This is a cryo-electron microscope. So structural biology is looking at the atomic level structure of proteins and other important biological molecules to work out how they work. We're strong in infectious disease. So we're interested in things like TB. We're interested in how we can combat those. So if we look down at the bottom right, we can see these are bacteriophages. So we've got groups working on these sorts of molecules to try and come up with new ways to combat antimicrobial resistance. We've got expertise in genetics and genomics. So there's a whole department of genetics and genome biology where people are looking at a wide range of human, animal and bacterial genetics. Now you might say, why Mark, are you showing a B here if you're talking about genetics? Well, this is because there are a group of researchers who are interested in animal behaviour, and it's been shown that you can modify behaviour by making very small changes to your genes, so-called epigenetics. So again, that's something you might get to work on when you're in your third year. We've got a large medical community as well, and because we interact strongly with the local hospitals, we see good strengths in cardiovascular, neuroscience, respiratory disease, and a lot of work on cancer as well around the school and the university. A lot of this focuses on a particular research institute, so we've got a new research institute in precision medicine as well. So lots of things you can get involved with. So I hope you'll see that lots of the research that we do aligns quite strongly with the programs that we teach you on. So again, you're going to benefit from that expertise. So we think we're good at what we do. Do other people think we are? I'm not going to dwell on this slide because lots of people will show you these similar sorts of things, but just to show you that, yes, we are regarded as quite a good research establishment as well. What I really want to focus on now for the next few minutes is to tell you a little bit about the structure of the programme, because I think that's probably what you want to know most about. So if you look at our prospectus, you'll see there's lots of different courses. So very broadly we can classify them as either biological sciences or medical sciences. And you can see that these come in either 3-year flavours, that's the BSc, or you can do an integrated master's programme known as the MBIOS-Sci. So that's available for both of them. So again, we'll talk a little bit more about the differences between them as we go along. Lots of students come in registering for the C100 Biological Sciences programme, but then, as we'll see, because we have a common first year, you're able to specialise in different areas. So really it's up to you how you tailor your degree. The medical sciences programmes, they're really for students who have a little bit more of a medical interest. And again, we'll explain about why they differ from these biological sciences programmes as well. So I've mentioned the 4-year programmes. We also have a foundation year programme. So this foundation year programme is for students who maybe just slightly miss the asking grades, or maybe have a slightly wrong combination of A-levels and maybe want to sort of like change the focus of where they're coming in from. So again, that's something else that you might want to consider. The foundation year programme leads into the first year of our normal programme. So what would you do then? How does our programme fit together if you come to Leicester? What sort of things are you going to be studying, and how are we going to teach you? So in the first year, our first year is a common year. So what we want to do in the first year is to make sure that we enable you to see the breadth of our course. So it gives you a chance to think about all the different aspects that make up the School of Biological Sciences, but also gives you a chance to sort of like decide on where your interests lie, what it is you want to do. So by doing this common first year, it gives you a really good chance to think about what excites and interests you. And it also gives the advantage of getting everybody up to the same sort of level. So in the first semester, you'll be doing molecules in the Molecules of Life, which is an introduction to biochemistry and molecular biology. You'll also be doing a module called the Cell, where we think about aspects of microbiology and cell biology. As you move into semester 2, you'll pick up on some genetics. So this module, from individuals to populations, thinks about aspects of genetic analysis. There's a module in multicellular organization, which is an introduction to physiology, pharmacology, and neuroscience. The only slight difference is if you're on a biological sciences programme, you do this module, biodiversity and behaviour. And if you are doing a medical biosciences module programme, you'll do this introduction to medical biosciences. So as you can see, by doing this common first year, it really gives you the opportunity to explore lots of different topics. And of course, because you've done a common year, you can change between the programs really easily. So one thing that some students are interested in at the end of the first year is there is an option to transfer to medicine. So I'm not going to talk a lot about this. I'm just sort of putting this up to remind you that it's there. Again, we can answer some questions about this later. But this is available for high-performing students who meet the subject entrance requirements for the medical school. So how will you be learning? So we've just put up here a few things that you might be doing in your first year. So yes, there'll be traditional sorts of lectures. Yes, there'll be traditional laboratory classes, so practicals. And yes, we'll have sort of smaller group tutorials. So this sort of covers a whole range of different style of teaching. So we go from very large lectures. So our current cohort is around about 360 first year students. The practicals can be quite large as well. So we might have sort of like 80 or 90 students in a practical class, but you also get smaller group teaching in tutorials where there's about 10 to 12 students per tutor. So there's a range of different teaching styles. We currently use a blended approach. So we use additional recorded material to supplement what you're learning as well. As well as these more sort of traditional styles, we also have lots of things like computer classes. So there are things that are involved in statistics training. There are drop-in sessions. We get you to do group work. And a large part of what you're going to do will also involve independent study. So I've put down here just a rough idea of roughly how much contact time you have each week. So this is about 13 or 14 hours. We've got quite a lot of practicals involved as part of that. But in addition to this contact time that you will do with staff on campus, there's also a large amount of time that we expect you to devote to your independent study. So you'll be reviewing the work that you've done. You'll be trying to understand things and get on top of material, because again, we want to come back and test you as you go through the weeks to make sure you fully understand it. But you'll also have work to prepare. You'll also have assessments to submit. So really, when you're thinking about the amount of time you're going to devote to your degree, you should really think about it as a full-time job. So we'd expect you to spend at least the same amount of time on independent study. So you've done the first year. What can you do then? As I said, the first year gives you grounding in a wide range of all the subjects that we offer in our programs. So in year 2, this is a chance where you can start to specialise. Now, what we've shown here is a list of the current second year modules. You can see it's split into 2 semesters. So semester 1 runs from October up until mid-January. Semester 2 runs from mid-January till the end of June. So in each semester, you're going to be doing 4 modules. Each of these modules are what we call 15 credits in size. So you're doing 60 credits of taught material each semester. If you're doing a C100 biological sciences degree, then you've got the widest range of choice. So you can almost choose any of these modules that you like. Remember, with the caveat that you're doing 4 modules in each semester. So for instance, there's a core module, this one called research topic, where we put you in groups and we ask you to think like scientists and come up with a research hypothesis that you're going to test and write as a grant application. So this is a core module for all of our second year students. In addition, if you're a biological sciences student, C100, you could choose any of these 3 modules, any of these modules in semester 1. There might be some timetable clashes, but usually we can guarantee that you should be able to do most of these. And again, you would choose another 4 modules in semester 2. So really you're starting to think about what things interest you. So you can really build your own degree based around what excites you. If you're doing one of the specializations, so in this case, we've shown biological sciences, biochemistry, there are slightly different things that you would need to do. There are additional core modules, and we've highlighted these here. So in semester 1, you'd have to do molecular and cell biology. In semester 2, you'd have to do biochemistry of nucleic acids, but you'd also have to do at least one of these 2. And in fact, many of our students would opt to do both of those. As you can see, even if you're doing all 3 of these modules in semester 2, it still leaves you some option modules that you might want to choose from. So again, there's good opportunity for you to really, focus on the things that interest you. As we move into the 3rd year, we've got a similar sort of structure. So again, I'm showing all of the modules that are currently available. And what we've shown here is a specialisation if you're doing, say, zoology. So here again, there are core modules that you have to take, but again, you've got option modules that are available from all of the other programs. You can also see that we have project work in the final year, and this comprises a large part of what you do. So projects account for at least a quarter of your final year module diet. So again, we'll talk a little bit more about the types of projects that are available and what sort of things you might do in them. So far, I've focused on the biological sciences. So those of you who might be interested in the medical biosciences, how do they differ from the biological sciences? Well, you'll do many of the same core modules. So for instance, if you're doing medical physiology, you will do many of the same modules that the physiology and pharmacology students do. However, what you'll also do is a specialist module each year. So in year 2, a medical physiology student would do this one, pathophysiology of disease. And in year 3, they do understanding disease and integrated approach. So these are modules that are only available to students on that particular program. So that's really how it differs. So students on the medical biosciences programs probably have a little bit less flexibility because they're doing an additional module. So it cuts down on the option modules, but it gives you a chance to focus on more medical aspects if that's the sort of thing you want to do. There are options between the second and the third year to do a sandwich year. So you can study abroad. So we have links with universities in Europe, Japan, the United States and Canada. So you can apply to do those. And again, you can do these either on a research basis, or you can do them as a taught element and take modules from what the universities in those countries offer. Another opportunity is to do a year in industry. So this is a competitive process. So you're competing with students not just from the University of Leicester, but also from other universities around the United Kingdom. This is an excellent way of getting more experience, and students who go on this come back a lot more clued up about what they want to do. You can work with lots of different companies. We've just highlighted a few here where recent students have gone to. So as you can see, most of these are biotechnology or life science research companies. As I said, in your final year, this is your chance to do original research. So you'll be working alongside researchers normally because they'll be teaching you, but it's in your final year that you'll get a real chance to work in laboratories. In your first and second year, you'll have done lots of practical work. So you'll have done practical classes. But if you want to get an experience of what it's like to work as a research scientist, then you could do an experimental project. And that's what about 2/3 of our students opt to do. So this is working alongside active researchers, so members of staff in school or the local hospitals, where you can work on a piece of project work that's of direct interest to the research lab. So we've just given us some ideas of some of the things that people have done before. There are also another type of project you can do is this thing known as an analytical project. So this is more based in the literature, and this gives you some opportunity to develop your own research project. So for instance, I'm currently running one looking at can you use stem cells to repair broken hearts? So again, the 3 students who I have are taking them in completely different directions and have decided on what sort of things interest them and how they're going to develop that project. So as well as these 2 types of projects, we also have education type projects. So this is where we have students who can go and work in local schools. So maybe they can develop research materials for the schools or sort of do some pedagogic research. We also have a group-based project known as the steered experimental projects. So this involves a combination of lab work, but also involves you in doing some analysis as well. So lots of possibilities to do different types of final year project. So far, we've talked a lot about everything that we expect of you and the things that you're going to be doing. Don't just think you're going to come in and we're going to leave you entirely on your own. You're not. So there's lots of people here to support you, and we think that's a really important thing. So there will be module directors. So these are people who run the relevant programs. There will be module teams, so people who teach you on the different modules, and they're always there to answer questions. So most modules will have drop-in sessions where you can go and ask questions. And we encourage you to use our discussion boards or to send emails to members of staff to ask things that you're not entirely sure about. We also have a personal tutor program, and I said that's something I'm actively involved with. So personal tutors are your link to the school. You'll have a nominated personal tutor when you join the school, and you will stay with that member of staff throughout your 3 or 4 years while you're studying at Leicester. You have regular meetings with your personal tutor throughout the 3 or 4 years, where you can discuss your progress, where we help you develop some key skills. And in the first year, your personal tutor will also act as an academic tutor, guiding you through the semester 1 tutorial program as well. So this gives you a really good way of having weekly meetings with your tutor in the same tutor group, so that you get to know that member of staff really well, they get to know you really well, And you also start to get to know a few of the new students who hopefully will become your friends. There are also university support level services as well. So there's the Student Welfare Service, and we're also running the Study Well programme in the School of Biological Sciences, which is also designed to help you develop as an individual and help you cope with some of the stresses that might come across as you start to engage with your studies. In all your studies as well, in all the lectures that you do, there will be lecture capture. So means that all of our lectures are recorded. So if you missed a lecture, then of course you could catch up on it by watching the recording that we post on our virtual learning environment called Blackboard. Obviously, I'm sure you're going to go to every lecture that you have at Leicester, but obviously, you know, if you did sort of feel that maybe it was a bit too early to get in for a 9 o'clock lecture and you missed it, then this is a way to catch up. There's a huge range of online journals and books in the library. We try and ensure for the first year, when we recommend certain textbooks, that they're all available as ebooks. So we don't expect you to buy any books, and actually we'd prefer you not to, because it gives you a chance to use a wide range of different literature that's available to you. As you move into the second and third year, you'll start to use more research-based materials. So this is in journals. And again, there's lots of information that you can get through the library. The library is also a really good place to work. So lots of students like working in there, and there are places you can book to work as individuals or groups as well. So is it worth doing a biological sciences degree? Oh, well, we would say absolutely. So as well as the interest that you get out of it, the chance to spend a long time working on something that you're really interested in, the vast majority of our students are in work 3 years after they've graduated. So about 94% of our students are in sustained work in this period. Lots of our students go on to do further study. So lots of people are interested in doing things like PhDs and MScs. They also go on to do other taught courses as well, like law, and lots of interest in medicine and dentistry. If you think by that point a career in biological sciences is not for you, then you can go and work in other employers as well. So remember that as a biological sciences student, you will have lots of transferable skills. So whether you choose to stay in science or whether go on to do something different, you're well set up by the time you graduate. As you go through the year, we will help you gain experience of preparing for employment. So you do something called the Leicester Award and the Leicester Award Gold. We also provide support by getting previous graduates to come back and talk to you about what they do now. So this is the Careers After Biological Sciences programme. There's also an extensive careers service that's available that provides really good support as well. And we'd encourage you to get involved with them. So just a quick reminder about if you want to apply to Leicester, what do you need? So we've shown here our typical sort of like asking offers. So AAB or ABB is what we'd normally ask for. If you have an EPQ, then this would reduce the overall asking grade by 1. There are minimum GCSE requirements, as you're probably aware of. Obviously, most students will come in with A-levels, but we do accept BTECs and International Baccalaureate, also access to HE diploma as well. If you don't have any sort of these more standard qualifications, then the best thing to do is to get in touch with the school and we can provide you with some support about what else you might need. So overall, why should you consider Leicester? What do we think are good selling points about Leicester? We think we've got a really great choice of flexible degree programmes, and we really want you to develop as an individual so that you can become a useful member of society in the future. We think we've got a really good sense of community, and I think there's a really good sort of interaction between students and staff. We routinely get good feedback on the NSS where we get reports that our staff are friendly and approachable and really helpful in what we do. We're good at research and we want you to become part of that. So really, I'd really recommend Leicester to you. What I'm going to do now, because I've talked to you a little bit about the course, the true experts on the course are the students who do it. I teach on the course, but the students do it. So if you want to know anything about the course, then you really need to talk to them. So I just want to pass you over now to one of our students, Hagar Abdallah. And Hagar is a third-year medical biochemistry student. So I'll pass you over to her now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the University of Leicester, and in particular to the School of Biological Sciences. I'm Hagar, a third-year medical biochemistry student. And I think during the 3 years that I spent at Leicester, I think I grew to appreciate the university and the city of Leicester in particular. I think is a great place where you can integrate easily. And I think from my perspective, being a European student that transferred to Leicester just 6 years ago, I quite fit well within the community. In terms of why I chose University of Leicester, I think the fact that the school provides quite a flexible course. So when I first applied, I was medical microbiology first. But then because the first year provides the opportunity of having a glimpse of each stream, then I decided that probably microbiology was not the one for me. So I decided to transfer to biochemistry. And this flexibility, I think, that provides, it makes it better for you to understand what is the difference between the different streams. Because when I applied, I think it wasn't very clear what the difference between pharmacology and genetics was. But the great thing is that all the streams interlink, and you as a scientist or as a medical or biological scientist, you need to appreciate that these modules all integrate very well together. And I think the best thing about the course that I really enjoyed was gaining a lot of different experiences, especially in terms of data analysis. I have a friend that is currently doing a PhD in biochemistry, and she had to learn how to analyze big chunks of data using coding. While the University of Leicester, in our course of biological sciences, we have this R module that is a optional module that you can take in second year that helps you understand how you can analyze data and how can you draw conclusions from it, which is, I think, essential and a big part of data analysis and providing conclusions from the experiments that you carry. An advice that I would give actually is making a good connection and bond with your tutor. I'm saying this in particular because before starting my third year project, which I'm currently performing now, I did a summer internship over the past summer, which prepared me quite well, in terms of confidence in the lab, learning techniques, because sometimes learning techniques in a book within the lectures doesn't really make sense until you are physically in the lab and performing it yourself. So the way I approach this is actually asking my personal tutor to provide reference to a supervisor that I emailed myself. So that was my way of making connections and taking initiative and being proactive. And I think this is what being a university student is being independent and being proactive. So I emailed a supervisor, which is a lecturer in the natural sciences department, and she was more than welcome to welcome me and accommodate me during the summer. And I gained a lot of experiences in structural biology, which is something that we didn't learn much about during the second and first year. We tend to focus more on molecular biology, but it's great because then I started my project now, my third year project in structural biology, and I also do a module in structural biology, but a lot of things make sense to me because I've done them before in the lab. So that's a great way of gaining experiences, actually asking and making connections with your lecturers. Something else apart from the academic side is also having that balance between your studies and your social life, I would call it. So in University of Leicester, there are different opportunities such as learning languages, taking part in sports societies. I'm personally part of the Equestrian Society. So once a week, we all gather and we go in the countryside here, Leicestershire, and we train horse riding. I have a lot of friends that have, they are part of volleyball societies, basketball societies. There are different ones, you can also make up your own. In terms of languages, I love languages, but I'm not part of any of the languages societies. I know that this is a good thing if you are interested maybe in applying for placement here, maybe abroad. So if you're thinking about going to Japan and you want to have an entry level of proficiency in the language, then you can apply for the course and gain that entry level. skills. Or if you're considering for example, working in a pharmaceutical company that has a branch outside of the UK, for example, in France, then you can take part in a language course and learn it alongside your modules. But yeah, so there are different opportunities at Leicester that can help you balance out your academic and your social life. And the best thing, I think, is to enjoy the process, make the most out of it. Things can get very stressful, but as Dr. Mark Leyland said, there are a lot of supports. There's academic support with your CVs, checking for proofreading of assignments. If you have problems with calculations, there are a lot of center skills in the library that you can ask and email for support. If you're applying for jobs or for I don't know, postgraduate studies, then you have a CV or a cover letter and you want it to be checked, it can be done by the academic center help in the library as well. So just ask, and I'm sure that you're going to find the best people to direct you. And all the best with your applications, and I wish you all the best with your exams. And now I'm going to hand you over to one of our academics, Dr. Sally Prigent. Thank you.
So welcome everybody. I'm Sally Prigent. I'm the admissions tutor for biological sciences. So if you apply to us, it might be me who gets to read your personal statements. I'm here really to answer any questions together with my colleagues, but I'll lead the answering if you like to start with.
Thanks, Sally. We've had one question come in around course accreditation, specifically focusing on medical biosciences course. Could you just talk us through a little bit about course accreditation and what's available and any support that might come in for that during a placement year?
I guess the questions regarding the Institute for Biomedical Science accreditation, which
Correct.
Actually, yeah, so none of our courses are accredited currently. To be honest, I don't think that restricts the opportunities of any of our students, because we have students who have gone on to the scientist training programme with the NHS and have successfully entered a career as a scientist within the NHS. And my tutee a couple of years ago has gone into that route. So it's a very good way to get into the NHS as a scientist as a graduate. I think it may be possible to apply for accreditation yourself once you've completed your degree, but I'm not quite sure about the mechanism for that. I don't know if Mark knows any more.
I don't think I do actually know at the moment. No, sorry.
Yeah. But as I said, I really don't see it would limit your opportunities at all by not being accredited. I think maybe nowadays a lot of schools talk about accreditation, but in terms of your career, I don't think it would affect you too much.
Great, thanks, Sally. A couple of other questions have come in specifically just around placement years, actually, now that we've touched on that, and the kind of support from the school for helping students with that.
Okay, so we've got a dedicated tutor who introduces the students to placements and gives them support. So they would receive a talk from the academic tutor, but we also have support from the Careers Development Service with a specialised module which prepares students for applying for placements. So it's a competitive process, but there's support both from the Careers Development Service and from the school as a whole.
That's brilliant, thank you. Would you be able to just touch on, possibly one for our student Hagar, just a little bit more on the differences between studying at university compared to your A-levels or in school?
Yes, for me, I think the great jump was from A-level to first year. I think the workload and the fact that our contact hours were very little, so just 15 hours, but then the independent work was a lot compared to when I was in college. So we will have the main concepts being explained in the lectures, but then to put these concepts in a scenario, you had to do some extra reading. So the lecturer would give a reference book or papers, just, doing that extra work outside of the lecture. I think that was my biggest challenge, spending hours understanding maybe a concept. But I think the good thing is that you have that support. So for example, we have the discussion boards, or you can email your lecturer, which can then re-explain the topic or maybe guide you more on a simpler paper or pages in a book that he maybe wants you to understand better than others. But yeah, I think it's the workload and the independent work that I had to do outside of the lectures. In terms of assignment, I think having assignments at university was easier for me than college, personally, because in college, doing A-levels, you just have your exams at the end, and I think that is quite stressful, remembering 2 years of work. But with having tutorials throughout the semester, I think it helps you keep a track of your knowledge. So every maybe 2 weeks or 3, you have a tutorial, and that helps you, brush on the topics that you covered in the 3 years and actually making connections. Yeah, that's my personal view and my personal experience.
Thank you, Hagar. Sally, do you have anything you'd like to add at all?
Sorry, my live. Yes. Yeah, it's just a lot more of independent study. You have to learn to be disciplined and manage your own time, and what you get out of your studies is really what you put in. So yeah, I would say that's the main thing.
Brilliant, thank you. We've had some questions around careers as well. So I know we touched on going into a career with the NHS, but what other sort of careers could a biological sciences degree take you into?
Okay, so roughly half our students go on to some further study after they've graduated, so to master's degrees or PhDs, medicine, law, teaching. So that's quite a popular sort of thing to do. But our students go into all sorts of careers, as Mark mentioned, with this Careers After Biosciences programme, where the alumni come back and talk to the students. Just this year, we've had 8 different former students come back to talk to our second years about various things, from physician associate, research editor, a former patent attorneys coming back, medical doctors, so a really wide variety of professions that are open to bioscience graduates from Leicester.
That's brilliant, thank you. And our final question is just around a typical day for a student at the University of Leicester. So I'll possibly pass over to Hagar.
Well, it depends actually which year. So I'm gonna talk first about third year now, because I remember that better since I'm a third year student now. I think mainly for my first semester is my project work is taking a lot of space on my timetable. So usually I don't have many lectures. I have Tuesday is free. It's just meant for lab work. Usually I have 2 lectures in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So Thursday I may have a practical, like 3 hours computer practical. So contact hours are very little, but then most of the time I'm in the lab, enjoying doing my research. Then usually I finish around 5, 6, and I then have assignments maybe to finish or lecture material to go through, and I take a couple of hours doing that. So until maybe 8 or 9 p.m. Then it's my free time until 11 or 12. So it's not packed, but I think if you do an experimental project, your project is going to be taking up most of your time in third year. My friends that do analytical projects is a bit different. They organize in a different way. Probably it's a bit better because you have just your own time, your own laptop, doing your research, looking at different papers. For me, I have to make sure that I'm in the lab while my supervisor is in the lab and matching the timetable with her. But for first and second year, it was a bit different. So we would have practical classes that usually are like 3-4 hours long, maximum 6 every 2 weeks. So you have these practical classes every 2 weeks. You have maybe 2 or 3 lectures, 2 lectures a day, I would say. Then you'll have tutorials every 3 weeks. So the contact hours are very little, but then around that you work on your preparing for a tutorial, preparing to send an assignment. So I would say it just depends how you tackle it. So if you know how to organize yourself around these little contact hours, then it's going to be great and balanced. Maybe there are moments in the semester that are more packed than others. So usually for me is the Christmas break and Easter break, which is exam preparation, when you start panicking and you have to make sure you revise everything, covered every material, read the extra papers. So Yeah, some moments or some periods during the semesters are more packed than others. The first, I think, 2 weeks for me is like adapting and getting into the routine. And the last 2 weeks are like hectic, collecting data or sending the last assignments. And then the period of Easter break and Christmas break is revision. But I think if you timetable it in a way that fits your schedule alongside of your, social life, family time, etc., I think it should be fine.
Thank you, everybody. I'd just like to say a very big thank you to Mark, to Sally, and especially to our student, Hagar, for such nice presentations. And thank you very much for everybody who's attended this virtual open day. I hope that we've answered some of your questions and given you a nice flavour of what we're offering here at University of Leicester. And I'd like to just wish you all the very best of luck with your studies, your exams and your university applications. Thank you.